Hi, this is Kimberly. This is a synopsis and a critique of Chapter 2 of My Daddy is a Hero, How Chris Watts Went from Family Man to Family Killer by Lena Derhally. The title of this chapter is Don't Call the Police. At 11:45 that Monday morning, Nickole Adkinson was starting to become panic-stricken. She had sent several texts to Shanann, to which she had received no reply. She dressed in a hurry and with no makeup on, slapped on her big white sunglasses, and at that time asked her son to drive her to Shanann's house. It was at this point that I thought I had spotted an error. She calls Nickole Adkinson's son Matt instead of Nick. But it was a false alarm. She had a footnote. It was called Footnote 1. This person is a minor, and his name has been changed for his protection. Wasn't that sweet? Thoughtful. But we all know him as Nick. Nicky and her son Nick. Isn't that delightful? I'm being serious. And they look like fraternal twins. To me, anyway. Nicky texted Shanann before leaving and said, quote, I'm very worried about you. I'm coming to your house, end quote. Nicky thought perhaps Shanann had passed out and that she'd just let herself in and get help for her. Nicky and her son were house-sitting and taking care of Dieter while they were away during the summer. So Nicky knew the door code to the Watts house and was used to just barging in. Letting herself in to be of assistance. But on this day she couldn't get in due to the safety latch being on the inside. It was engaged. She nosily peeked in the side window to the door and saw Shanann's flip-flops that she had kicked off when she arrived home just a few hours before. Her suitcase from the weekend trip to Scottsdale was by the stairs. She told her son to move the car up to the front of the garage so he could stand on it and see if Shanann's car was in the garage. It is said that the car seats were clearly visible, but were they? The garage would have been somewhat dark. It was closed up, and weren't the windows tinted on the car? Well, yes, they were. In the next video that I post, you'll see on the police body cam when he goes into the garage just how dark the window tint is. How the hell could Nick, aka Matt, see the car seats? Nicky was also texting with Cassie, another close friend of Shanann's. I like how the author uses the proper names of the people involved. It helps to keep the story clear and flowing like Fuckface's non-stop verbal explosive diarrhea. A crystal clear, babbling brook. Chris was acting too casually for the likings of Nicky and Cassie, so they ganged up on him and started to blow up his phone, and they got aggressive with him. Chris kept playing dumb. I'm sure that was an easy task. Or maybe he just really is a dumbass. He kept saying, quote, she's at a friend's house. They weren't buying it, so quit your bullshit, you half-wit. Chris told Cassie they were separating and to please not think he's a bad person. Shut up, you dumbass galoot. For God's sake, quit being such a weenie all the time. Nobody gives a shit about you, Chris and shit. You are nothingness that fades into the wallpaper. And then the book said this, quote, amid his text messages with Cassie, Chris resumed his text conversation with the real estate agent Ann Meadows. Ann had been texting both Shanann and Chris that morning, completely oblivious to what was going on, end quote. Meanwhile, Cassie is going off on Chris and Nicky called the police. Mooncalf Jughead started to head home. I hope he was uneasy all the way with anxiety and fear and wanting to shit his pants. That Nimrod probably felt nothing. What a fruitcake. Oh, wait, sorry. I have to take fruitcake out of my vocabulary because 'tis the season and I'm ruining fruitcake for those that like it. One of the commenters reminded me, and I'm so very sorry. My grandmother used to make a very good fruitcake. It was called an icebox fruitcake. I need to check around and see if anyone has that recipe. But if I made it, it would only be for me. No one else would touch it. Going forward, I will use eccentric or insane person rather than fruitcake. It's not like me to offend people, and I don't want to start now. Officer Coonrod showed up while Chris and shit was probably blowing through the red lights to get home. I wish I knew what he was thinking as he drove to his house, where there was a yard full of people waiting to talk to him. But until Chris and shit got there, the officer was banging on doors and peeking in windows while Dieter barked wildly. Chris finally got there and was acting all suspect and stuff. Panic is a very strong feeling of anxiety or fear that makes you act without thinking carefully. But I could tell in the body cam footage that Mr. 𝐻𝐸𝐞 seemed to be thinking he was being nonchalant, and also was about to piss his fucking pants. Chris opened the garage and immediately went to the white Lexus and opened the passenger side door. Not sure what he was doing, but he appeared to either pick something up or drop something in there. It's always been my opinion that it was Shanann's wedding ring. Maybe he took it off of her hand and threw it in the Lexus as he was carrying her out. And I'm so sorry. I honestly do not mean to sound crass. I couldn't come up with a delicate way of saying that. Please, though, I encourage you guys to discuss in the comments your thoughts on what this bumbling, clueless culprit was doing while he was fumbling around in her car before going into the house. Then here comes next-door neighbor Nate ambling over, wearing a backwards baseball cap. He wanted to give the lowdown of a white car driving away from the Watts' driveway around 1 a.m., he said. And Nikki said, "You damn nosy nincompoop." That was me after dropping off Shanann. Tempers seemed to be flaring. Chris fucked off in the house for a minute or two, and then he eventually let everyone in. Coonrod, Nikki, and Nick, a.k.a. Matt. Dieter was barking, and they were roaming around, touching every damn thing and contaminating the crime scene. Why the hell weren't they looking for Shanann and the girls? No one went running upstairs or shit like that. I've always wondered, why didn't they call out their names? The officer finally went upstairs, and Chris was being all sneaky and stuff, and told him that the girls' blankets were missing, and that they never go anywhere without them. Matt produced Shanann's phone, saying he had found it in the couch. Nikki flipped her lid with alarm and trepidation. Nikki hollered at Chris because he didn't know the code to Shanann's phone to unlock it, which was the baby's due date, but he still didn't know the code. He had been preoccupied lately with impure thoughts. He had also lusted in his heart instead of focusing on his troubled marriage and impending home foreclosure. Chris was a huge help in answering Officer Coonrod's questions. Don't know where they are. I don't know the name of the friend. I don't know how they would have left the house. I can't tell if any clothing items are missing. I don't know the meaning behind of why Shanann would leave her wedding ring by the bed. I don't know if someone picked them up. No one I know has seen her. I can't access the bank accounts. Mrs. Rusick called Officer Coonrod directly on his cell phone. She said he needed to check the GPS on Chris's truck. She had a bad feeling. She was sure Chris had something to do with whatever the hell was going on. Coonrod felt that the only thing that really stood out was the master bed was stripped of the bedding. Well, that and that everyone was gone, but Shanann's purse, ID, credit cards, phone, keys, medications, all of that was still at home. Then he decided he really ought to get the backup of Detective Dave Baumhover. Next-door neighbor Nate wanted to help, so he invited everyone over to watch his security footage. Chris was edgy and apprehensive, trying to explain everything away. "Those are my water jugs. Those are my book bags, my computer." Quote, "This is him at 517, next-door neighbor offered helpfully. Chris and Chip freaked the fuck out as his newly chiseled washboard ass fell to the fucking floor. He was rambling, fumbling, and his really cool sunglasses kept falling down from his head over his face. He started pretending it all wasn't happening. He was wound up tighter than an 8-day clock. When next-door neighbor Nate turned off the security footage, a commercial for American Horror Story came on, with a fetus in an hourglass and oil and just awful horridness. But a light went off in Ding Dong's head. He gulped and blurted out that Shanann was pregnant. When Coonrod said, "My detective just showed up. He'll probably want to talk to you," well, son of a bitch, I think Casanova wet his pants. The tension in the air was thick. When Chris finally left next-door neighbor Nate's house like his damn pants were on fire and that he was about to have an explosive diarrhea attack, Nate, Nikki, and Officer Coonrod all started to whisper, almost in a gossiping tone, about how CW was acting odd and suspicious. Nate and Nikki were telling the officer that CW was normally quiet and reserved. He never talks, so the fact that he's over there blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious. He's not acting right at all, next-door neighbor Nate said. Then Detective Baumhover, Officer James, and Sergeant Bakes, all from the Frederick Police Department, showed up, and Chris and Shit's trepidation really started to amp up. But Chris somehow stopped long enough to throw some of the children's clothing into the washing machine, and they were just swishing away when Officer James went upstairs to have a look around. Officer James also checked out the neatly organized basement with the unmade bed, and of course the main floor with the avocado green and the burnt orange colors in the kitchen. I think Shanann was bringing back the 70s with her color choices. I did see something the other day that Shanann had integrated all of the colors of Thrive into her house, and damn if they weren't right. I wish I could remember where I saw that. I think it was on YouTube somewhere. If I find it, I'll link it below. Chris and Shit was giving his account of what had gone on in the weeks leading up to this, where his wife and children had simply vanished into thin air. He left out some parts, for instance, that he was having a steamy, torrid, lust-filled affair on his devoted wife. Chris and Shit stayed with his spiel and was blathering on about how Shanann had gone to some unknown friend's house without a damn thing for herself or the kids because of their emotional conversation of selling the house and separating. And they were both crying, and then she was going to take the kids on a play date. I guess just be damned about their first day of school. This is a bunch of cockamamie bullshit. The look on his dumbass face tells me that even he knew none of them were buying it. If his brain was dynamite, there wouldn't be enough to blow his fucking hat off. Chris started babbling about how he could never be himself around Shanann, and there was a disconnect, and he just fell out of love. Yeah, because it wasn't there anymore. Oh yeah, and she was pregnant with their third baby. And well, he just wanted to separate anyway. He's such a two-timing dirtbag, imbecile, nutty as a fruitcake, sorry about the fruitcake, numbskull, laughable, pain-in-the-ass, reject, dickweed, scumbag, shiverbrains, turd vermin, wacko truckload of foul-smelling chicken shit. Go to hell, you asshole. The next video I post will go along with this chapter too. It's of Officer James searching the house on August 13, 2018. While poor Dieter barks in distress, no one paid attention to what he had to say. He had seen everything. They would not look at him. In fact, they locked him up in the dog kennel, where they should have put fuckface. To end the chapter, Miss Lena says that Baumhover took Shanann's phone and some other things to be analyzed. Oh my god, guys, I found this gem in the discovery while I was looking for Officer James stuff for the next video. You know how I go off topic and end up somewhere else, but please allow me to divert your attention to this, as I am done with this synopsis anyway. Listen to this shit. Discovery, page 1110. Officer Ian Albert. On September 20th, 2018, at approximately 17:30 hours, I was advised by Weld County Dispatch to contact Daniel Franzarek via phone regarding information on the Chris Watts investigation. I called Daniel at blank, who said he resides in New York City, and he had a theory about this case. Daniel believes there was a connection between Chris Watts and the Zodiac Killer from the early 1970s. Daniel then continued to make several incoherent statements regarding Chris's late wife possibly being a lover of a male named James Darnell Olson, who also may have links to the Zodiac Killer. Additionally, Chris may not be the father of these children, and the Olson party may be their biological father. Daniel did not provide any factual information about the matter. He said this was only a theory, and I could take it for what it was worth. Nothing further at this time. Sergeant Albert 976, Frederick Police Department. Thank you, Albert 976. I just adore a thorough report. Now, wasn't that a shiny little gem? I love when I find stuff like that in the discovery. That will be the end of this video. Much love and peace. I will pick up with chapter 3 in the next one. Thank you for listening.